Hey everybody, I'm SystemJ66 and I'm here to talk to you about a pretty impressive and one of my all-time favourite games that came out on this generation and any other generation for that matter, and it's called Control. Control I played about 3 months ago and I saw it on sale on the PlayStation Store for around £9. It was the Ultimate Edition. I couldn't find the Ultimate Edition physically sort of anywhere for a decent price, and not one that wasn't a French copy on Amazon for some mad reason. I'm sure other people can find that Ultimate Edition that isn't, French, and it's our copy, but I couldn't find it for whatever reason. And I looked and I thought, well, on eBay it's super expensive. It's like 50, 60 quid at the time, and I was like, well, this is £9, and yes, it's a digital version, but if I like it, maybe I could just buy the physical base game if I like it that much. Well, I started off, I think I'd played a demo and I quite liked the demo, but no, I remember now. I went to play it on the PS Now store, and I got kind of halfway, and then I can't remember, something else came out. There was another game that I got stuck into. I continued not to subscribe to PS Now, and I sort of didn't touch the game for ages, and then when that deal came along, I was like, oh, this is one that I've wanted to get back into and finish, a bit like Days Gone actually, and I did so. And this isn't going to be as long as the Days Gone review, because that's quite an in-depth review, and I had to sort of let people know how I felt about Days Gone. And it's a bit of it's like Days Gone isn't a bad game per se, it's just you either like it or you don't, and I had to sort of go into detail about why I didn't like it and what was fundamentally wrong with that experience or that game for me to be like, I'm sorry, some of the people that say it is a sort of average score game, they are sort of on the same side of the fence as me. But having said that, with Control, we're not talking about Days Gone, we're talking about Control. With Control, this is a game that really blew my fucking socks off. It blew me away. Now, I've never really watched Twin Peaks. I know of it. I know kind of the ins and outs of what happens in it. It's a little bit like Alan Wake was based on that. It's a little bit trippy, it's very Dream World, very Silent Hill, or Silent Hill was inspired by Twin Peaks and things like that. So it's kind of like the the father of Silent Hill and Alan Wake, and it's inspired so many sort of moments in Max Payne, and just it is a well-loved sort of TV series, and one of the best, one of the more sort of strange TV series to come out, and I think maybe followed by X-Files and some other series, but Twin Peaks started it all. So I like Silent Hill. I think it's, I love it. I think it's a great game series, 1 to 4. After that, went downhill a little bit. And I like those moments in Max Payne that are trippy and dreamlike and stuff like that. And they owe those sort of ideas and moments to Twin Peaks. So, maybe one day I'll have to watch it. But for now, Control is a game that really borrows heavily from Twin Peaks. Like, probably the heaviest that I've seen. And it is super trippy. It is crazy at times. There's some weird ass characters in it, but it has like this really cool X-Files, like when X-Files was cool, or I'm trying to think, just like a slick action film, like a really slickly made action film like The Matrix or John Wick, or just any other sort of sci-fi action film. It has that slickness to it. It's got a slickness to it that I haven't seen since the Resident Evil remake or Half-Life 2, Doom 2016, Doom Eternal. It's got that slickness to it. It has that polish, that they've added to that. It enhances the experience so much, and for someone like me that isn't too familiar with the thing that it's inspired by or trying to replicate at times, Twin Peaks, for it to drag me in and be like, hey, check this out. This is some weird shit that no other games really tried to do. It really drew me in. Now, it is a little bit like Silent Hill in some ways as well. It's a little bit like Inception. It's got some X-Files inspirations, and I used to watch X-Files. I don't know. There's all kinds of inspiration in it, but it's its own thing as well. It's got a little bit of Akira in there, which I love. And they wrap it all up, and they kind of bundle it together, and it just works. And at first you're thinking, this is not going to work. It's not going to work. At one point I was thinking, I don't know if I like this. I don't think it is working. But it's like for every moment that you sit there in the beginning sort of moments of the game and you go, this isn't going to work, I ain't going to like it, it completely flips you on your head and says, no, hold on, check this out. And you end up going, wow, that actually fucking works. And as everything culminates, you end up fucking falling in love with the game. Like I said, it's harder to come up with things, negatives about a game and review them, or at least give your thoughts and opinions on it. Because I wouldn't call these reviews, I'd call them my thoughts and opinions and just me telling you guys why I like, this game. So like with Days Gone, because there were so many negatives that outweighed the positives, even though it was fun at times, it's a little bit more in depth, because I have to let you know and help you understand how I feel about these games. And if you like the games in question, it doesn't matter what I'm saying, or I'm not telling you not to like a game unless it is a big shit pile. There's no real reason why you should be liking it. Like with the new Resident Evil multiplayer game. And I'm sorry, I can't understand how anyone could defend that game and also like it. I'm really sorry. It's just one of those things. Like, my channel's not for you if that's the case. I know it got a few dislikes, and maybe that's me as a content creator getting the dislikes, or maybe you actually like that game, but you can fuck off with that. It's disgusting. It's atrocious. It's disgusting to use the name and make something like that. Anyway, moving on. Control is the complete sort of opposite of that. It's an incredible single player game. It's semi-open world. It takes place in this house called the Oldest House that constantly shifts and changes. You have these things called the Hiss, which have invaded our sort of dimension, and it's not known whether they're alien or they're just interdimensional in some way, or they're ghostly, or it does kind of tell you as time goes on. I don't want to ruin the story too much. This is a game that you should play for the story, because it's incredible, and the characterization as well as the gameplay. The gameplay is non-stop sort of action, and at times you'll think, oh, it's lulling, it's getting slower, there's a little bit of a lull. No, it completely ramps up after that. It's a little bit like Horizon Zero Dawn, where you can climb sort of any mountain and get to places that you're not supposed to get to before the story wants you to go there. I fought the Stormbird at one point in Horizon because I just climbed the mountain, just had fun climbing the mountain. And Control's like that. At one point I was able to get to this area, but sort of like before it happens in the story, and before you get a mission telling you to go down there. And I was able to do that because I'd unlocked this special power that allowed me to float, drop, float, and then I could get down there. So this is a game that doesn't have many constraints. It has a few, yeah, definitely. So does Horizon Zero Dawn and Red Dead Redemption 2 and those type of games, Bloodborne, the original Resident Evil remake, but it also allows the player to explore and find their own way through the story and through the missions and things like that. And the missions aren't very taxing. Some of them are, some of them aren't. The standouts are the boss battles, definitely. There's some incredible boss battles. To, again, ruin them would be a disservice, definitely, to the game. So I'm not going to, but there are some incredible boss battles. And some of the boss battles that take place are, via these side missions, these side quests, should I say, but they're great. They're really, really good, and they're some of the highlights. And you'd think that it takes place in an old house, and how can there be much variation? There's loads of variation in locations, definitely. I love how everything shifts and just looks fucking cuboid. There's a lot of cuboid designs in the house, and obviously this being like a house that I don't want to ruin anything, but yeah, there's how do I do it without ruining it? It's almost displaced within our realm, within our dimension, let's say that. So some weird shit happens. You'll know this from seeing trailers and things like that, so it's nothing new, but it's great. It's like the other world in Silent Hill, but yeah, that's kind of sort of what it's like. The service weapon that Jesse Faden gets, the main character, her name is Jesse Faden, and she's looking for her brother, and she goes to the Oldest House because she's got some tips and sort of information about him, that he might be there, and she goes there, and I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but she goes there and finds that the old director has shot himself in the head. So she becomes the new director of the oldest house, and the oldest house, it's kind of like the offices of the FBI, but the paranormal FBI agents. It's kind of like if Mulder and Scully, specifically Scully, was to believe everything that Mulder told her, then you'd have two agents, sort of investigating these paranormal things and weird shit happening. So if you can imagine that, but you've got like a whole building full of them, and they all believe in this, this stuff, like this paranormal stuff and all this weird shit. So, Jesse Faden, she kind of interacts with all these people, and the service weapon chooses her. I won't ruin that, but it chooses her, and this thing is incredible because it's basically like a couple of blocks, and it just changes, it transforms and changes shape, and that allows you to have a rapid shot sort of version of the gun, a single shot, a shotgun block like type version of it, a grenade launcher. It's great. And then you've even got like almost like a crossbow version, which I actually ended up using quite a lot because it was super powerful. And then on top of that, she also unlocks all these other powers. She can levitate, she can float around. When you get to do that, trust me, it's a lot of fun, and it's pretty incredible. It really switches the dynamic of firefights and things like that, and taking on the hits and bosses. But yeah, she's got loads of other things. She can create a shield out of rubble. She can just rip chunks of concrete off the floor and the walls, and we will get to that in a minute because that's one of the highlights of this game. But yeah, she gets all these really incredible powers that cause massive destruction and are actually helpful and do help you. So there's an upgrade system, as you can imagine. You upgrade your gun, your service weapon. You upgrade Jesse's abilities. Yeah, it's great. So talking about destruction, I have never seen a game other than the first Fear that has handled what I call Matrix-style bullet-time destruction, kind of like, or I would say the lobby scene in the Matrix-style destruction. Like, I've never seen a game handle it as well as this game does. When you play this game and you destroy shit, like you have firefights and bits of, rubble are just, like, whatever bits of concrete are peeling off the walls, you're ripping concrete out of the floors. This is literally like that lobby scene in the Matrix times 100. And every time you get into a firefight or you are trying to beat these bad guys, beat these hiss, it destroys the world like around you, and it's so cool. It's so cool to see and to look at. Now, while you are destroying these locations, I will say that because of processing power, or it would just have been too hard to do, the locations don't stay like that, unfortunately. They do sort of revert back to how they were before a firefight and things like that as you're running back through the oldest house. So that's a bit of a shame, that there's no actual sort of progressive destruction, so it doesn't actually alter the environment around you for future revisits. But like I said, like processing wise, that would have been extremely hard to continue with, to sort of implement indefinitely, and yeah, it just would have been too hard, believe me. And it's fun to then re-destroy everything. That's what I'm trying to say. So, and here's the thing: the oldest house, like I said, is sort of in between a certain dimension and our dimension, so it can kind of replicate stuff again. It can kind of respawn itself. So there is that, and that covers the sort of story and the reason why everything reverts back to normal, or everything sort of replicates again, and all the locations look fine like after you've destroyed the shit out of them. Hiss-wise, the enemies, you get your kind of standard, I guess, action game enemy types. You get the brutes, you get the annoying flying ones, the exploding ones, you get the ones that hide in cover and pop and shoot you. And yeah, they are kind of like cannon fodder. They're not like the smartest AI-wise and things like that, but they do give you a bit of a tough time, definitely. If there's all these different ones, and they are, especially like some of these mini-boss type ones, and they're all together, and they're coming at Jesse, yeah, it's going to give you a difficult time, definitely. But it's not so hard that you can't overcome it. This isn't Bloodborne difficulty, Dark Souls difficulty, but it almost does sit on the line with those games. It's a very enjoyable experience. At times, there's a few moments that are frustrating, but other than that, the gameplay is solid and it is extremely fun to play, and the story compels you to keep going. I love the characters, especially the janitor. He's so fucking weird. I love him, and he's still, by the end of it, not really explained. Like, you know, it's not explained who the actual hell he is. There's hints given, but yeah, there's so many great characters in it. But I'm not going to ruin those, and I'm trying not to ruin it as much as I can, so hopefully I'm doing a good job at that. So, graphically it's incredible to look at. Like, graphically it's amazing. I do like it. There are some weird lip-syncing sort of moments, but we get that with most games nowadays. And there's a little bit of pop-in here and there, but it's not to the same effect as Days Gone, which was terrible. Like, really bad. In this, it doesn't last for more than sort of 2-3 seconds, and then it loads. And yeah, and saving, it just automatically saves, but you can manually save, and I'm just trying not to ruin it. That's why I haven't got much written down, about the reviews, just sort of off the top of my head, so I'm trying not to spoil parts of it. But yes, it is compelling. It's very compelling. The graphics are great and the action is impressive and a lot of fun. The game reminds me a lot of the old school Resident Evil style games. A lot of people have likened it to Metroidvania in its design, the way that it plays. I would second that definitely. It is like it's like an evolution of Metroidvania style games. It does remind me heavily of the original Resident Evil in the mansion and stuff like that, but doing its own thing. That's what I love about it. So it's just it's got a great atmosphere as well. I love the atmosphere of it. This cyberpunk, like neo-noir, just detective, like novel. I don't know, just anything you can think of. It's really good sci-fi. It's really, really good sci-fi. It's neo-noir meets cyberpunk, like Akira, meets Twin Peaks and Silent Hill. It's just all this stuff that they borrow and has influenced them is all mashed together really fucking well. Like, really well. Like, too well, in fact, So, Matrix, Inception, all those things are also inspiration to this. But yeah, the music, sound design, yes, there's a moment I won't spoil, but Jesse puts on these headphones, and there is actually a reason for it in the plot. It's not just some silly, goofy moment. There's actually a reason for it in the plot. That's what makes it less goofy and silly. And it makes sense as well. And she has to navigate this maze. I will say that. And can't do it previously, but the story moves things on, and then sort of later on you're able to navigate it with these headphones. And the tune that starts playing is this just badass fucking tune. And again, it was like that moment in The Matrix where Neo and Trinity, face off against all the armed guards, like the SWAT team. It's like that when the tune starts playing, and it's just fucking awesome. There is basically a part like that in this game. Any moment in a film where you can think of a song starts to play and then there's this really action moment, well, this game has one of those, and it is sick. It's sick. So, look, it's not all good. We're going to talk about some of the bad points. I mean, I've sort of expressed the good stuff and how much I love, this game. This game, for me, is a very high 9.5 out of 10. It's very good. Like, I like it just as much as RE2 Remake, if we're talking about, sort of like recent gen titles that have really impressed me. I would say it's up there with DMC5, Doom 2016 Eternal, RE2 Remake, Bloodborne. I'm trying to think of all the games now, but just a bunch and a ton of games that I've said on my channel which I really, really love from, the PS4 era, that PS4 generation. Horizon Zero Dawn, I like it better than Horizon Zero Dawn, actually. Like, Horizon Zero Dawn was like maybe an 8, sort of close to a 9 out of 10, but I think, yeah, Control is just, it's way better. I think Control is a 9.5 out of 10. I genuinely really like this game, and I want to see a sequel to it, and it done quite well, so we could be getting a sequel. However, I also want to see remakes of Max Payne 1 and 2 that Remedy are involved in with Rockstar, so maybe we'll get a Control 2 after that. and also Alan Wake 2. I want to play Alan Wake 2. I wasn't too interested in the first one. However, after playing Control, what I will say is it made me want to play Alan Wake. I will not say anything else. I don't want to ruin it for those who haven't played it. But make sure and download the DLC for this game. They are well worth it. And yeah, one of them, I'm not going to spoil it. Even if you look it up and you go, oh, and you work it out, oh, okay, it's about that, I'm not going to spoil shit. So I don't want to say nothing, but everything will become more clear when you play through this game, and then you maybe play one of the DLCs. So it's maybe you want to play Alan Wake and then maybe play Alan Wake 2. Although I will say Alan Wake 2 looks more like a survival horror game, and that's why I'm more drawn towards it. I think I've covered everything as to reasons why I like this game without spoiling too much. It's got a lengthy campaign. There's loads of side quests and stuff that I found interesting personally. Some people said, some of the side quests weren't that good. I kind of was involved in a lot of them, definitely. I got involved with a lot of the side quests. So yeah, it's got like tons of gameplay. It lasts a good amount of time. It doesn't go on too long. It's perfectly paced, in my opinion. It's all my opinion. But there are some bad points, so we'll get on to the bad points because that's all the good stuff. And of course, nothing's perfect, so we have to talk about some of the stuff that sucks. Okay, there is a mode in the game, I don't mind ruining this, called Expedition Mode. It fucking sucks. I didn't bother finishing it. It's stupid. It's super hard. There's a time limit, and it's not needed. And on my first time, I was about to kill the boss, and there's a certain boss, like a little mini boss, and it took me out of the mode because the timer had run down. I literally had, I think it was something silly like 2 life on him, and it just took me out. It was like, okay, 10 seconds, boom, and I was gone. So that fucking sucked. So the timer ran down. 1 hit kill enemies and 4 separate objectives make this mode interesting to take part in, but it's simply ruined by the time limit ticking away in the background. I'd say avoid this extra content. It's not worth the hassle. If you're a sadist, then give it a go. Okay, so yeah, Expedition Mode is an extra little mode that you get with the Ultimate Edition, and it's not that great. It's interesting, the locations and stuff in it, definitely, but it's just terrible because the timer is so strict, it's so limited, so you can't sort of have fun with it, unlike the main game. Right, so I will say that the DLC for it is worth getting, both the Foundation and, what was the other one called? I can't remember the name of the other one, but it's the one that I think if I mention the name anyway, it will ruin it, so I'm not going to. But there's 2 DLC packs, and they're both pretty cool. The Foundation is very interesting. To say any more other than it's very interesting would, again, ruin it, so I won't ruin it. Hopefully I haven't ruined it in some of the bad things to do with the Foundation, but yes, they're worth getting. It's just Expedition Mode that you could have done without. However, I will say you can still do like I did and buy the base game, which is what I did afterwards for like a £5. I went out, I bought the base game because I love it so much. I wanted the physical copy, just as a backup, and I was perfectly fine with not having that extra content on that disc, or if I did want to get it down the line, I could always, rebuy it or something, I don't know, but I didn't need the DLC on top of the base game. The base game is enough for me, definitely, and I don't think the DLC really added too much outside of the base game. Unlike things like Not a Hero for Resident Evil 7, which, kind of adds to the lore and the story. It continues the story and it ends it. Same with Village. Village is DLC, if I take those sort of games. This isn't the same. It just has a bit more understanding of the lore, but doesn't... It's hard to explain. It does continue the story, but the base game is enough. Let's just say that. I'll just say that without ruining it. So, there were some glitches during the Foundation DLC. A boss got stuck behind a pillar during moving platform side quest. Frustrating, and not the first time enemies have disappeared or vanished, leaving me stuck and having to reload the game or reload the checkpoint because of the mission path being blocked by a hiss barrier. A bit like Devil May Cry with the hands that come out the door and you have to kill all the enemies before it will open. Same thing here. In the end, I got fed up and selected 1-hit kill via aim assist. Sometimes you're going to get your ass kicked and handed to you, and I would say that for certain Certain missions, certain side quests, you could just put on the one-hit kill and get through it a little bit easier. It just depends on how much you like dying, and it seems like it's a sort of cheat thing, and it kind of is. But there was times where I wanted to progress the story, and I'd already fought about 100 enemies, so I just put on the one-hit kill to get through the areas and the locations. With the Foundation, it does have some kind of disjointed boss battles and sort of hiss battles, so I ended up putting on the one hit kill aim assist, to help me out. But I would turn it off as well, just to, if I could handle the amount of hiss that got thrown at me. But they do respawn quite heavily. You kind of have to cleanse the area, like in most open world games, so you can activate a waypoint, you can activate a fast travel, so yeah, like there is that. But even then, you're going from sort of one area to another. Like I was going to this cell block, and the hiss always respawn whether you've cleansed the area or not. So yeah, that can get annoying. So you do have the option, which again Remedy kind of thought of. They thought, this is going to get annoying, let's help the players out. If they can't be asked to fucking take part in these lengthy battles, let's just give them an assist, and the assist is a one hit kill. So sometimes you can use that if you just want to go around exploring, a bit like Doom Eternal gives you cheats, like with the infinite ammo and God mode and all that stuff. So you could use that to then go and look for all the collectibles. So yeah, really, really cool on Remedy's part. Definitely thinking about that. For every frustration the DLC threw at me, there was respite. For example, when riding an elevator and having to hit hiss nodes in order to grab a secret item, the elevator had a stop and start function. So at first you might think, oh, I've got to hit all these nodes in succession, it's going to be impossible. That's going to take ages. But in reality, you stop the lift, hit a node, and start it up again. Easy as pish. That's what I've written down here. So yeah, it's a really cool puzzle that you work out. It's got great puzzles in this as well. There's some really intelligent, well done puzzles, and not like completely mind bending. They're just right. They're well done. And so this one particularly was, at first I'm thinking, oh god, I've got to go up and down, constantly, and try to hit these nodes quickly, like it was a GTA mission or something. But in actual fact, I didn't. I just had to stop the lift just before the node, and then I could get it. So pretty cool. There's a Maneki Kino glitch. After spending at least 40 minutes finding the oh yeah, I remember this one because this was ages ago, 3 months ago since I played it. So there's these things called the Maneki Kinos that you can collect during the Foundation, and unfortunately there's a glitch. So after spending at least 40 minutes finding these stupid cat doll things, whatever they are, they're the cat, I don't know, they're like porcelain cats or plastic cats, and their hands wave. That's what they are. Yeah, I should have got a purple cat, I should have got a purple cat, which was the last one, but it was nowhere to be seen. So I left it and continued with the other DLC pack, which I won't ruin. So yeah, that glitched, and I mean, all Jessie gets is a pair of cat ears, and she sees this like little secret room. But it's not going to mean anything to you if you haven't played this game yet and experienced the DLC. But for those of you who have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But yes, there was a glitch. I tried to reload it. Reload it to earlier save points. No good. It glitched completely. So, that pissed me off a little bit because it stopped the percentage progression. Because I'd done like all the extra tasks and side missions and things. So that was a bit annoying. So, again, it's not without glitches. It does have some glitches and stuff, but overall throughout the whole runtime there wasn't much freezing, and it wasn't even in the same ballpark as Days Gone, which was fucking dreadful and had too many glitches and too many bugs. So in summary, with all that out of the way, I would recommend Control to a lot of people. If you're a fan of the X-Files, you like The Matrix, you like weird shit like Twin Peaks, you're a Silent Hill fan, anybody who doesn't mind their games, stories, or film stories, whatever, movie stories, getting a little bit weird, TV show stories getting a bit weird, this is for you. It never steps too far, like outside the realm of reality, or even when it does, it's still plausible. It's not ridiculous. Like, it's not goofy. In a sort of corny, cheesy way. But yeah, I recommend this game highly. I ended up really, really liking it, and it was definitely a surprise. I'd always wanted to pick it up and get it, so that was always going to be a thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to play through it, and finding it, the Ultimate Edition, for £9 on the PSN store gave me the chance to do that, and then I loved it so much that I went out and bought myself a physical copy, which, there's only a few games that I've done that with recently, having tried them or played them via PS Now or PS Plus, and that's like Wolfenstein, Shadow of Colossus, which I think gets extremely a bad rap, and I don't understand the hate on that game. And what was the other ones? Detroit, that Become Human, that was great. Fucking amazing cinematic experience. So there's a few games that I'll play and be like, yeah, it's blown me away, I love it, and I want to pick up a physical copy. So this was definitely one of those games. It's just a shame that I didn't play it sooner, and I was meaning to years and years ago, but just different games came out. Resident Evil 2 Remake came out, DMC5, there was just Doom Eternal, all these games kept coming out and kind of getting in the way of me playing something like Control, because it wasn't established. Again, it wasn't an established IP, and it was something fresh and new, and I was just like, oh, but I've got this and this and this and this and this to play. Or Resident Evil 3 Remake's coming out, I've got to play that. And it's just a shame, really, because I'd rather have played this than Resident Evil 3 Remake or, Resident Evil Village. So it's a massive shame that I didn't play it sooner. However, I have got to play it, and I absolutely love it, and I'm glad that I've got to experience it, definitely. Going from Days Gone to a couple sort of months later playing Control, I was just sat there thinking, why did I bother with something like Days Gone when I could have been sat here playing this? I'm playing through it thinking, wow, like I could have been playing this game instead of Days Gone. But I just had to get through Days Gone and play through it, because I like zombies, I like the apocalyptic sort of, locations and things like that, and story. But yeah, I was sat there playing Control, and once Control ended, I was actually quite sad that it ended. I was like, oh, it's ended now. And I went back for a couple sort of like not replays from the story, but just replays of locations, and trying to, I don't know, collect some of the missing items and things. Oh, one last thing I will say though, I wasn't the biggest fan of the lore building, but it's not done in a bad way. It's kind of like Metroid Prime, where you scan things and read the lore. In this, you find notes, a little bit like Resident Evil as well. You find notes, and that's how you get the lore for the story. The sort of like all the background stuff. So there's a lot of notes and there's a lot of reading. Trust me. And I read a few, and some I wasn't interested in. I discarded. So that's one thing I will say, but you don't have to read it. That's the point, you don't have to read it. You can just leave it and continue with the story, and it still helps you understand all the stuff that's happening in the story. It's just that this stuff gives you a little bit of extra lore and a little bit of lore building on top of it all. So handled very well. Yeah, and like I said, the physics, destruction, and the combat and the action and stuff it's really good. You're going to be very surprised at how cool the combat is and how fun the set pieces are in this, definitely. So yeah, pick it up. It's a 9.5 out of 10 from me. Absolutely amazing title, and I can't wait for Control 2. So well done, Remedy. Quantum Break wasn't that great, but you brought it back with Control, definitely. So I think Quantum Break's the only game that they've ever kind of flopped with, really. Like Max Payne 1 and 2 were good. Alan Wake found a lot of fans, that was good. And yeah, I'm trying to think. And then we had Quantum Break, which didn't do that well, and then we had this. But I've heard some people really like Quantum Break, so I don't know. But yeah, Control is definitely right up my alley. And if you're a fan of X-Files, Matrix, Inception, things like that, Evil Within 1 and 2, games like that, Silent Hill, you've got to pick this up. I think you'll love it, definitely. So big recommendation from me. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to keep updated with any more, games that are like Control, or even Control 2 when it's finally announced. News. Until next time, I've been System Check 66, and I'm out of it. Take it easy. Peace. I see a vision rising.